Good evening. I'm going to call the meeting to order. This meeting of the Denville Township Board of Education is being held in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act due to the state of emergency declared by the Governor of the state of New Jersey and the United States regarding COVID. The board meeting is being held via video conference and in person. Electronic and regular notice of this meeting was provided to the Daily Record and or the Star Ledger of Morris County, has been delivered to the Township Clerk, has been posted on the bulletin board of the Board of Education office, and at each of the school buildings in the district. Roll call, please.
Mr. Kim?
Here.
Mr. Cass?
Here.
Mr. Capello?
Here.
Mr. Anderson?
Here.
Mr. Moore?
Present.
Mrs. Gould will be absent. Mrs. Wagner?
Here. And seeing as we have no need for an executive session, if we could rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so no special presentations tonight, but we will have a special presentation next meeting. So Dr. Forte, Superintendent comments.
Thank you. So just a few things. First thing is we are looking at the extracurricular activities for all three schools. We will be discussing this with the administration and then with the Board of Education committees in the next month. And we're looking to do some type of extracurricular and enrichment programs. Most of them would be virtual. And we are also looking at athletics, but that involves other towns. So we're looking at those things. We will continue to give information in the next few weeks before, but we would like to start these things after the new year. So just stay tuned for some more info on that. The conferences are this week for teachers, parent-teacher conferences. We did add an extra day to accommodate for the virtual component. So the conferences are now the 27th, 28th, and 29th. So we will be doing AM sessions only from the 27th through the 30th. All schools will be virtual on November 3. That was per the governor's executive order. All students will have a virtual AM session only. The PM session will be a PD for staff, and all school buildings will be closed on the 3rd per the executive order. All schools will also be closed for the NJA convention on November 5 and 6. Our new Commissioner of Education is Dr. Angelica Allen McMillan, who's a former Morris County Executive Superintendent, and we're waiting for guidance from the NJDOE on whether or not we can utilize virtual days for snow days, meaning if we had a typical snow day, if we could use a virtual day, switch to all virtual that day. As of right now, we have not received guidance, so as of right now, we would not be able to do it, but we were told that we would get the guidance very shortly. And Damaris and I are working on the security grant for water infrastructure and security. Both grants are due by November 30th. That's the end of my report.
Thank you, Dr.
I'm sorry, it's November 20th, due date.
Thank you, Dr. Forte. Dr. Pellis, Assistant Superintendent comments.
Please make sure to look at your school emails that have been going out to parents about the Halloween festivities this week. All three schools are having some activities going on, but please make sure that you look to see what your particular school is doing, because students must be wearing the correct masks. They cannot be wearing the Halloween masks to school. We are looking for ways at Valley View to increase the extra help time. In the past, teachers have pulled in students at lunch and recess, and because students are now traveling at lunch and recess, they are looking for creative ways to find more time to pull in groups. So right now, we're kind of working on a plan of how we can do that and offer some additional extra help to students at Valley View. This concludes the Assistant Superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Pellis. Business Administrative comments?
No comments.
Thank you. Okay, it is 7:35. At this time, we are going to open the meeting to public comment. if you have something to ask or comment to the board, seeing as no one's here in the building with us, and are there some people on the meeting? There's no one on the meeting. So if you decide to come on the meeting, you can type in the chat box. And since there's no one in the meeting that we can see, we're going to close the public session comments at 7:35, and the public will have a second opportunity at the end of the meeting. And we are on to old business. Mr. Kim, would you move us through old business, please?
Sure, I'd be happy to. I motion that we approve tonight the reports from September 20, the Treasurer School Months Report, the Board Secretary Report, as well as the education reports for student enrollment and health office for September 2020, as well as the minutes for the work session and the regular session. The work session for September 14th. Second.
Questions, comments? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Kim,
Yes.
Mr. Cass,
Yes.
Mr. Capello,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Lure,
Yes.
Mrs. Wagner.
Yes. On to new business under personnel. Mr. Anderson, would you cover personnel, please?
Sure. If there are no objections, I'd like to move items 1 through 9 as a block in the personnel section. Second.
Thank you. Questions? Questions, comments? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Kim,
Yes.
Mr. Cass,
Yes.
Mr. Capello,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Lure,
Yes.
Mrs. Wagner.
Yes. On to IMP. Mr. Capello, would you mind moving us through that this evening?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Under IMP, we have one item, the instruction and program. Item A for teacher for a Teachers College Equity Institute, advancing racial equity in education, K through 8, using Title II funds, like Civic Seminar or a CE type program.
Yes.
Second.
Questions? Roll call, please.
Sorry.
Oh, no, sorry.
Sorry. Is this to fulfill a mandate, or is this something that the teacher brought to us, or something like that? Does anybody?
Amy Rossi is our literacy coach, and so this is Teachers College, the same program that we use for our literacy, and this is really to look at our curriculum and all of the literature that we use and see how we can be incorporating it to advance racial equity.
Thank you.
Sandy, just to follow up on that, is this kind of what the goals you have in terms of sorry, what I'm looking for? Yeah.
So this is going to promote the auditing and the revision of the curriculum that we're going to do this year.
Thank you.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Kim,
Yes.
Mr. Cass,
Yes.
Mr. Capello,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Lure,
Yes.
Mrs. Wagner.
Yes. Our next item of business is policy revisions, which I will move to approve the following resolutions under policy revisions. Under items number 1, there's a list of policy and/or regulations that are up for first reading this evening and will be up for second reading and adoption in our following meeting.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Kim. I know there's a number of them here. Seeing no questions, roll call.
Mr. Kim,
Yes.
Mr. Cass,
Yes.
Mr. Capello,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Lure,
Yes.
Mrs. Wagner.
Yes. On to finance. Mr. Kim, would you mind?
Yeah, I motion that we move finance as a block, numbers 1 through 9.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Mr. Cass? Any questions or comments? Dave, can I ask you directly about number 8?
Sure, if you want to.
Just wondering what the story is there.
One of my jobs, we did a lot of drilling and recovered a fairly substantial amount of mica schist, and I have been talking with Ms. Stiles about rocks a fair bit over the last several years, and whenever we have large chunks that are kind of nifty looking, I've been giving them to her.
That's great. That's a very unique gift and not something that everybody can give to the district. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's great.
I want to thank Damaris and Dr. Forte for the coronavirus relief fund grant. $50,000 is quite a lot of money, so thank you.
We hope to get some money for our water project that we did a few years back, and then also due to Corona, we added a few new bottle fillers because all of our regular water fountains are disabled right now, only bottle fillers, but that limited the amount in each building, so we added a few. So we're hoping with that water grant, we can get some of that money back. And with the security grant, we're going to be able to pay off some of the former projects that we did, and also go forward with that other thing that we talked about for a while, that 911 inform. So that's about $86,000, the security grant. So we're looking forward to getting that going too.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Kim,
Yes.
Mr. Cass,
I'm going to vote yes on 1 through 9, except on number 4, check 1189, look fund. I'm voting no.
Mr. Capello,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Lure,
Yes, abstain on 8.
Mrs. Wagner.
Yes. On to operations. Mr. Cass, would you walk us through that, please?
Sure will. Under transportation, we have 3 items. 1.1 is to approve the joint transportation agreement with the Educational Services Commission of Morris County for the upcoming school year. Item number 2 is to approve the parent transportation contract for a student for the 2021 school year at a prorated cost of $1,305. Item number 3 is to approve the following school bus emergency evacuation drill reports. The Lakeview drill was conducted on October 7th, 7:45 a.m. Riverview was 8:30. And Valley View, October 15th, 7:15 a.m. Under buildings and grounds, we have 1 item that the board approved, accept the donation of a frame drawing of Valley View Middle School from Jim Faraday, architect of the 1975 addition to the school.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Cass and Mr. Kim. Dr. Forte, is that, I believe that's hanging already, is that right, the donation?
Yes, the picture from the architect is hanging in the middle school, and it came in handy because we were able to cover a PA system that probably hasn't been in use since probably when I was in 8th grade. So it came in great use up there in the middle school. I'll send you a picture.
Okay. Roll call.
Mr. Kim,
Yes.
Mr. Cass,
Yes.
Mr. Capello,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Lure,
Yes.
Mrs. Wagner.
Yes. Okay, we are on to good of the cause, committee reports, correspondence, discussion items. Just for the benefit of the public, I think this meeting is going pretty quickly if somebody is watching this later on. And I think we're moving to a format that hopefully there's more discussion of items during our work session and during our regular meeting. Just the voting should be happening unless there's some other concerns. I attended the Valley View PTA meeting virtually last week, 2 weeks ago, last week. And they have a lot of different fundraisers going on this year. I'm sure that every PTA is struggling doing their fundraising. So if you are interested in participating, I think the theme is to sign up and pay your dues. You don't have to necessarily volunteer. They're not always looking for time, but even membership is important to the organizations. Anybody have anything else?
Yeah, I do. New Jersey School Boards had the annual workshop last week virtually. Many of you were able to attend. Actually, I found the session was actually really good. The technology was actually great. They were live, as Mr. Anderson pointed out. I don't believe they're recorded. Maybe they will be available later.
They will be available.
They
If
will
you
be.
registered, you have access to them for a year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I haven't seen any.
Yeah, you couldn't kind of the day of, I guess. Maybe it's gonna all come out.
Yeah.
But I actually thought the exhibit halls were done, like everything's really done well. I thought they really kind of nailed the whole presentation of it. So sessions were good. I got a lot out of it, and I was able to sit in my house and do it. So
Yeah, that's gonna be good.
that was nice. I think, in fact, I saw Ray Penny at the farmer's market this weekend. He did some good. Yeah, he's at the farmer's market a lot. He said that they're probably going to keep a virtual component going forward. It's, a lot of people like it, and it makes a lot of sense for people who can't sit down.
I think a lot of things we'll see that, right? Going virtual, maybe in addition to in person.
One problem at a time. I have one more thing, actually. I just wanted to maybe have a conversation about the health insurance. That we have found, people saw the memo of Harrison. We had broached that a couple of weeks ago. So that's obviously kind of disturbing. Where we may be headed. That isn't at all what they presented to the school board and legislative committee. And we talked with President Sweeney and all of that. It was really looked at as like a win-win. So I'd be interested in hearing Damaris's thoughts, and I think it's for the public's benefit too. Maybe we can kind of walk through it a little bit.
Absolutely. I was hoping to discuss with the committee first, but I will give a little heads up. We started collecting in health insurance form as of last Friday. We have approximately 50-50 of staff moving to the health educator plan. So right now, we are looking into a financial loss. I cannot determine the amount of the loss, but the staff contribution is significantly less than Chapter 78. With Chapter 44, is a percentage of the salary, is a very low percentage of the salary, versus Chapter 78 was it was at least the maximum percentage was 35% of the premium. Having said that, right now I do not have accurate number, but I do have raw information, and I do not feel comfortable giving you exact numbers at this time, but I'm hoping by next week with the finance committee, I can probably give them a better accurate number.
I don't know. I think that's what Mr. Capello was looking for, is just an overall view, but I think to share with the public where we are right now is that it was presented to school boards, and legislature originally presented it as, like you said, a win for the districts, a win for the employees, and now not only did we under budget for this because of what the numbers we were told, but seems like the contributions are going to be significantly different percentages than what we anticipated.
Health insurance is on a calendar year, and school district is in a fiscal year. So that would benefit a little bit the district. So if the lowest, I'm just going to put a number, $50,000, it could be 25 just because we're looking to a half a year cost, not a full year.
And then would I be right in thinking that this would, assuming the plan doesn't change again from the state, that this would be a one-time cost to the district because of the change of plans, or do you anticipate this being something that we're going to see again? Annually, not just one time, is what I mean.
The first year will be the most difficult year, of course, because we were not anticipating the decrease in the contribution. Going forward, of course, we'll have to budget accordingly.
I think the easiest way to put it for everybody is the difference in the cost of the health plan is not enough to make up for the reduction in the contribution. That makes sense. So if somebody's contributing $6,000 now, and the policy goes down $3,000, and now they only have to contribute $2,000, we're not sure that makes sense.
But I'm also guessing, so correct me if I'm wrong, Damaris, but it depends on the salary of the employee, right? So it's a percentage of their salary. So the higher salary employee, they'll contribute more towards that, where we have to bridge the gap for the lower paid employees, I assume, right? Lower salary?
You are correct. However, it depends on the plan of the staff, salary, and of course, the option that they pick. But you're correct. It's salary and plan combined.
But also remember Chapter 78 also went by your salary. So the higher you made, the bigger your percentage. So it's not like a really one-to-one correlation. It makes sense what you're saying. Like I get it.
The gap difference would be different for every employee. Like there's a lot of variables here, right? Like how many people go to that plan, what salary they're in, what plan they take. I mean, but it sounds like you're starting to get some early indicators that this is going to be financially bad for the district. And the other thing too, I want to mention too is, just to clarify, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Damaris. So you're saying, let's say it was like the numbers you use, let's say it was a $50,000 additional cost. It would be $25,000 in this fiscal year. I mean, it's still going to cost us $50,000. It's just going to be spread across fiscal years. It just gives us the benefit that our fiscal year is July to June, where it's a calendar year on the benefits, correct?
That is correct. Yes. So that will be beneficial. Is we only have to account for.
Yeah, from a budgeting perspective, it's accounted. Yeah.
I think the biggest concern that I have with it is how it was presented from the legislature to school boards and to the public, that this would be, and of course there are some things that change in healthcare that could be unforeseen, but it was presented to us as this is going to be a decreased cost for the districts and the employees, and everyone is going to save money here, and it is not the case at all. So I just wanted to make the public aware of this until we get full there. So thank you, Jonas.
To their benefit, the premium did decrease. However, the contribution also decreased. So it's both going down.
And depending on what plan they came from, their benefits slightly decreased. So it depends on, like you said, many factors.
But the example you gave us, Damaris, and I know this is only a hypothetical scenario. I mean, the employee contribution portion is like half almost, right? I mean, it's a huge reduction, which is great for them. I mean, I'm really happy that if that is a true hypothetical situation, or at least ballpark, it's great to see that they're going to see that reduction. The unfortunate part is that we're going to bridge that gap a little bit on having to pay a little additional.
That was an accurate example. However, everybody's going to be in a different position, different category. But that was a real example that we picked just to show the difference. However, it could be higher or lower, but it's significant. It would be great for the staff if they switch not so great for the district.
Are there any examples where you think that will be positive?
Very few.
Very few, okay.
Does anybody have anything else they'd like to discuss?
Could I follow up with a question? Did school boards actually have a position on the outcome of Sweeney's legislation?
So the last conversations we had was that the initial savings were projected to be almost $1 billion. I think 600,000 to the employees, 600 million to employee savings, 400 million to districts, roughly. That number started coming down as it started getting closer. They put in something in the language that says there has to be a minimum savings of at least $300 million to districts, but I'm not sure how that's going to be calculated or what that's going to mean. So that's going to be interesting to see. So if all the districts like us are not saving any money, what's going to happen? Is that money going to come from somewhere magically, or are they going to tell us to go back to the table and renegotiate, which Damaris mentioned? None of those are going to be great, obviously. I'm not sure how that's going to work out. So no, I haven't heard anything. Today was the first day I really heard from Damaris that this wasn't going to be coming out like they were presented.
Remember, some districts still have those platinum plans, like what's above the Cadillac? What's beyond that? Rolls-Royce plan. They have where you still have the traditional, the cost per employee is $50,000, things like that. So they would be forced to, they're going to be forced into basically what we already have.
One thing that we said is that districts that held on to Chapter 78 like us, we're not going to make out as well, right? Because we do the hard work. It's the districts that gave up on Chapter 78 that are basically now getting the second gift, another bite of the apple. So yeah, we did the right thing. We held off on Chapter 78 until firm. Now the difference for us is probably going to be more significant than other districts that gave up a lot of that over the years.
I never heard, I followed it fairly close. I never heard anybody say that any district would be negatively impacted. So this is the first we're really hearing about it.
If it had been presented that way, even suggested it was a possibility, Damaris definitely would have budgeted for it and we would have had that cushion, but that's not how it was presented to us, so. Do we have a need for a follow-up executive?
No, we do not.
So we are going to open the meeting again to the public for the second time at 8 o'clock.
7:58.
7:58, of course, accuracy, thank you. So at 7:58, the meeting is open to the public. Do we have any public on the meeting? There's no members on the meeting to comment, so we're going to close it at 7:58.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?